Hi friends, so this is the continuing story of picking up the pieces after Pepper passed away. And I left off the last video talking about the actual euthanasia process and the lockets that Olivia and I are wearing now with Pepper's fur in them. So that was Thursday, August 1st. And I had mentioned in that video that I just had this overwhelming sense of dread on my shoulders and on my heart this whole week prior to her passing. And on the drive home after it was all done, Scott and I were basically quiet the whole time. And my poor husband, I don't think he'll get embarrassed if I share this. In 25 years of our married life, I have never seen him cry. I've seen him get teared up a few times. He was very upset when our rooster Goliath died. And that was the closest I'd ever seen him to tears. I mean, I'm sure he's cried in private, like when his mother passed away and his father passed away. But he was always very strong and never cried in front of me until Thursday when we had to have Pepper put to sleep. He cried. He didn't sob or anything like that, but he cried. He cried in the vet when it was happening. He cried in the car on the way home. I mean, he was very upset. So we were kind of quiet on the way home, and we were talking, and I told him, I said, one thing I can say that's a positive is that I don't have that looming sense of dread pressing down on me anymore. That sense of dread is gone. There's nothing left to dread. It was over. And then we pulled in the driveway and I walked in the house. And immediately, the minute I stepped in the house, I had this feeling of loss and loneliness and emptiness. That dread that I had been feeling was just replaced by this oppressive feeling of loss and empty. The house was too quiet. We have 3 dachshunds. Lucy's old and she's half deaf, so she doesn't bark unless she hears the other dogs barking. And then she'll bark, and she has no idea what she's barking about, but she'll bark. Sally is very quiet. She only barks on occasion. I mean, she's not one to every time she hears a car drive down the road, she's not barking. Or every time she sees a squirrel in the yard, she's not barking. Pepper was our barker. She barked at everything. She barked practically non-stop. And when she got really worked up about something, you couldn't make her stop barking. I mean, she just barked. She was a barker. She'd bark when we left. She'd bark when we came home. She barked at everything. And so we walked in the door, and it wasn't even the fact that she wasn't there to greet us. It was the fact that it was silent. Sally doesn't bark when we can't come home. Lucy doesn't bark unless she hears someone else barking. And there was no barker there. There was no barker left. And it was so quiet. And it was so weird. And every time I looked in the house, I'm like, Pepper should be there. She should be there. She should be there. And when we fixed them their dinner that night, I only had to fix dinner for 2 and not 3. And just every single thing I did, everywhere I went, she wasn't there. And this dog was when I say she was my constant companion, she was my constant companion, almost to the point where it was a nuisance that she would be up under my feet. If I went down, she went outside. This was when she was well. If she went outside to bark or play or go to the bathroom or whatever, and I went downstairs and was out of her sight, the minute she came in the house, she would sniff me out. She'd go all around the house searching for me, and she'd figure out I was down in the basement, and she'd stand at the door and bark till someone let her down. She sat on my feet when I would cook dinner. she'd curl up in a ball outside the bathroom door when I was taking a shower. She sat on my feet when I was getting my makeup on and getting ready to go somewhere. The minute I sat down, she would be right there, begging to get up in my lap. And this has been this way for 9 years. 9 years. I had her by my side. She was the best and biggest comfort to me after my mom died. It's like I had somebody to hold at night when I was crying for my mom. But I didn't have anybody to hold it, to cry for Pepper. When we got through Thursday night, and the way Olivia and I dealt with it is that we had the final season of The Big Bang Theory saved on our computer ever since it finished airing, which it was a few months ago, I think, when it finished airing, and we just had never gotten around to watching it. And so we're like, why don't we watch season 12 of Big Bang? Because they always make you laugh. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched that show. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And so we just binge watched season 12 of The Big Bang Theory, and it took our minds away from the situation, and it forced us to laugh. I mean, I didn't want to, and like Thursday night, every time I would laugh, I'd be like, why am I laughing? But that's the way that show is. It's just, you can't help but laugh. And so we binge watched it Thursday night, Friday night. We finished it Saturday night. And that's how we coped. That's how we got through it, because the evenings were the worst. The evenings were the worst. I mean, the daytime was bad because like everything you would do, it's different. But at nighttime, for me, I didn't have my sleep-in buddy anymore, you know? And that was the time of the day where we'd just sit on the couch together, and I'd either watch TV or read or crochet, and she'd be curled up in a ball right next to me. In fact, in a lot of the pictures in the tribute video of her sleeping on the couch, you could see like just the tiny edge of my pant leg. It's because she was plastered right up against my leg and laying there sleeping. And so like most of the pictures of her, if she wasn't curled up in her dog bed, she was in my lap or she was laying right beside me. And I had these grand ideas that on Friday I'd just go around the house and I'd clean up all of her, like I'd put her medicine away that she didn't need anymore. I'd put her food bowl away. I would pick up all of the debris of taking care of her and take the extra dog bed away and all this stuff. And I did do a lot of that. I scrubbed her food bowl out and I wrote her name on it. Her name had been written on it before, but over time it had faded off, had worn away. And so I put her name back on it again, and it's sitting in her spot. Each one of our dogs had a spot, and we'd feed them. We'd say, go to your spot, and they'd all run to their spot and sit and wait. And so I put her bowl back in her spot, and I don't know that I'll ever move it, because Pepper will always be a part of our family, and it's not in the way, it's not tripping anybody, but it's in her spot, and it's there, and it's gonna stay there. And I went and I cleaned up the area downstairs, our little vet area where we infused Lucy, and we took care of Pepper's wounds and took care of her ear and things like that. And I cleaned up all of the debris that was from that, and I put the medicines away, and I could not bring myself to move her dog bed that was down by my computer. That's another thing that may just stay there forever. And I couldn't bring myself to put up, she had to sleep in a crate at night the last week of her life because her wounds were bleeding so much, and she was running a fever. Her temperature, she was so hot. And it was just uncomfortable for her, and it was uncomfortable for me, for her to sleep on the couch with me. And she didn't really want to. She wanted to be kind of by herself. But I didn't want her roaming around the basement at night because she was getting blood everywhere. I had to clean blood off the carpets, and so we crated her at night, which she was okay with. It wasn't an enclosed crate. It was like a cage, like a wire cage that was open in the top. And I put one of the dog beds in there, and a blanket and stuff like that. A couple of blankets. And it's still downstairs. I still have not been able to deal with putting it away. I took one of the blankets that was in there, and this was on Thursday night. I couldn't sleep, and I just missed her so much. And I picked up one of the blankets that was in the little bin, and it smelled like her. Not a bad smell, like sometimes dogs can really stink, but dogs have a smell, and it smelled like her. And so I just hugged that blanket, and I still have it. I don't think I'll ever wash it. I sleep with it. I mean, I sound crazy. I know I sound crazy, but you have to do what you have to do to get through the grief of it. And it's helped. It's helped having that blanket. So that pin is still there. And I know this week I will take it down. I'll probably take you along with me when I do. So I did that on Friday. Kind of cleaned up as much as I could. But it was driving me crazy. I was like wandering aimlessly through the house. I didn't feel like doing anything. And I still had this oppression, this big heavy weight on my chest. I mean, like, I physically hurt. I was in physical pain, and I just couldn't bear it. I just kept saying over and over to myself, I can't bear this. And I went on the computer and I started reading your guys' messages after I had posted those videos on Friday morning. I had set them to post automatically. You can do that. It's too hard to explain. If you don't do YouTube, you don't know. But you can set them. You can upload them beforehand and have them set to publish at a certain day and time. And so that's what I did, because I didn't know how Friday morning was going to go. I didn't know how I was going to feel. And so I'm like, I'm just going to have it set to go ahead and automatically publish. And so I went down that morning, and it was kind of later morning. I did sleep. Once I finally got to sleep, I did sleep pretty good. And I started reading your messages, and I saw her picture, and I shared this story on my other social media, and I was just looking at her picture, and I just started sobbing, and I just was saying to myself, I can't bear this. And I messaged Scott at work, and I said, I just can't bear this. I just don't even want to live. I want to die too. I just cannot cope with this sadness anymore. And he was so sweet. I can't even remember what he said, but one of the things he said is that you will live. You have to live because we need you. And it's like, I was not suicidal. Please don't misinterpret what I said. I just wish that God would just strike me dead. It put me out of this so I could be with my dog and my mom again. And not have to suffer another loss, because it's just the worst. It's so horrible. Death is so horrible. And yeah, we just chatted throughout the day, and finally I said, I've got to get out of this house. I cannot. Everywhere I go, she's here, but she's not here. And I mean, there was times when I would catch something out of the corner of my eye, like the chair she'd always sit in, the recliner, and I would think she was there, and I would look, and she's not there. It's like your mind just plays these tricks on you, and I just kept expecting her. Like Friday morning, I sleep on the couch. I've said this before, because my husband snores really bad, and once I have the money, I'm going to get some of those Bose ear-canceling earbuds so that I can sleep in my bed again. But every morning before he would goes to work, Scott would come downstairs and give Pepper a cookie, wake me up so that Pepper and I could go up and get into bed, because my husband leaves for work really early in the morning, and so I would only like spend half the night sleeping on the couch, the other half in my bed, because I'm a night owl. I stay up really late. So it works for us. At least for now, it works for us. So he came down and he was feeling the loss because he didn't have a dog to give a cookie to down there. And when I was half asleep and I was stumbling towards the stairs to go upstairs, and I'm physically looking behind me thinking, where's Pepper? Is she behind me? Is she coming? And then I had to think, no, no, she's not coming. So anyway, I told him, I was like, Olivia and I are going to go. I have to go to the feed store and I got to pick up some goat feed and some chicken feed, and then we're going to go to town. We're going to go to Dollar Tree and we're going to go to Walmart and we're going to go because we just got to go. And I can't stand this anymore. We've got to get out of here. He was like, sure, go, do what you need to do. So we went to town, and that morning was when Olivia's actually the one that gave me the idea for this. It was her idea, let me say, put it that way. And so we went to town, we did the things we had to do, got the animal feed, and then went to Dollar Tree, just looked around to see what fall things they have. And then we went to Walmart. There was a few things I needed to pick up, and I said, well, look and see if they have lockets. They didn't. At least they had lockets, but they didn't have the kind where you could see through it. And I said, well, let's look at Cato, because they have jewelry, and then maybe we'll go over to JCPenney and look. So we went over to Cato. They didn't have anything. I didn't buy anything for myself. Yoo-hoo! I bought Olivia a dress they had on clearance. It was regularly a $30 dress for $11, and it's beautiful, and she wore it to church on Sunday. And then I got her a pair of sunglasses for $2. And by this time it was like 3:30, and we really needed to get home. And so I'm like, well, I'm not even going to go over to Penny's because everything they have is going to be too expensive anyway. I said, I'll look on Amazon when I get home. So I came home and I made chili dogs for supper because it's like, I don't feel like cooking. These are easy and, it's a no-brainer. So that's what we had for supper. And on Thursday, Scott had stopped at Walmart on his way home from work and picked up some fried chicken. And so I didn't have to cook Thursday. I didn't even eat. I couldn't eat. And so that's what we did Friday. And it did help. I mean, it just helped get out of the house, get around other people, and take your mind away from it. One of the things Scott had said was that don't be ashamed to not think about her 24/7. It's okay to not think about her 24/7. Because when I do start to think about her, really think about her, that's when I just lose it and sob and sob and sob. And I cried so much that my diaphragm was sore. And so, I'm physically in pain after the loss of my dog. Saturday, I just kept myself busy doing laundry. And I had moments of crying. And like I said, Sunday was a better day. I did tear up a few times. Olivia wrote a really sweet post on Facebook, and I shared it on my timeline. So if you're on my Facebook, you can see that. And that got me to crying a little bit. But it's been better. It has been better. Today is a better day. We will never forget that dog. Never, ever, ever, ever forget her. Olivia said in the post that she is not just a dog. She was a member of our family. She was one of Olivia's sisters, and we will never forget her. Never. We decided to have her cremated, and we will be getting her ashes back, as well as a paw print of her foot, which we loved her feet. That's so silly, but she had the cutest little feet. She had the sweetest, longest, floppiest ears. And as Olivia said in the post, she could light up your heart just by looking at you. And it was so true. So true. That dog was so special. As I know everyone's dogs are special. Dogs are not called man's best friend for nothing. They are man's best friend. She was truly my best friend, and I miss her. I will always miss her, and I will always love her. When the ashes come, I will definitely show you the little setup that we're going to have for that, the little memorial spot in our house that we will have for her. And I will bring you along through the next couple of weeks as I pick up the camera, and hopefully I will heal and be more cheerful and less sad. And yeah. And before I close this video today, I do want to share with you a side-by-side picture that Olivia showed me on her phone, that she had taken pictures of Pepper and kept on her phone, that just absolutely nailed in my brain that we did the right thing. Because we lived with this day by day, and as she got worse and worse, because we were so close to it and because we saw it every single day, it was a gradual thing, and it's like you become numb to it and you don't really realize how sick she was and how bad it was until Olivia showed me these two pictures. One picture was taken of Pepper when she was completely healthy. It was probably taken 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And it was the contrasting picture was the day that Pepper died. Olivia took one last picture of her. So as you can see in that picture, or those pictures, that poor dog was tired and she was ready to go. She was ready to go be with Jesus. And I don't care what you guys believe about that. I mean, I do care. It's your opinion. Let's put it that way. It's your opinion what you believe. But I believe in my heart that dogs go to heaven. And I believe that she is with Jesus. And she's with my mom, even though my mom didn't particularly like dogs. She's in heaven with my mom and with Jesus. And I think my mom likes dogs in heaven. All right, friends. Thanks so much for listening to me talk again. I hope it wasn't too boring, and I appreciate you all so, so, so much. So the next video after this will be the final video in this series of picking up the pieces of after Pepper passed. Bye, friends.